pass certain tests in order to be exempt. There are no tests for non-exempt employees. We can make everybody non-exempt employees if you want to. In fact, the government would like that. But in order to be an exempt employee, you have to pass two tests. Test number one, you have to earn $2,773.33 or recurring 33,333, let's round it off, 34 cents. If they're not earning that salary per month, they cannot be exempt, period, regardless of what they do. So that's very important for schools and churches. What is your secretary making? What is your yardman making? What is your janitor making? Whatever, Bible worker, youth pastor, whatever. What are they making? They have to make that in order to be exempt. If they don't make that, they have to be classified as non-exempt. The second test is based upon the job description. They need to be doing certain things the majority of their time, 51% of their time or more. There's three categories. There's executive exempt people, administrative, and professional. To classify as an exempt executive person, this person needs to have insight into the hiring and firing. They need to have insight into who you hire and who you fire. If they're not doing that regularly, then they can't be an exempt. They need to supervise at least two people. So in order to be non-exempt executive, you need to, as part of your job description, supervise two other people. If they're not doing that, non-exempt. They also need to make major decisions for the school or for the church. If they don't supervise people and they don't have insight in hiring and firing, they can still qualify as a non-exempt person under the administrative category. But to qualify for that, once again, 51% of your time need to be spent using your own discernment on policy decisions, management. If you don't do that, you're not classified as an exempt employee. And then lastly, there's a professional. There's actually a fourth category, but doesn't really affect us. The third category is professional people. Teachers are mentioned by name, but these are typically your dentists and lawyers and those type of people that don't really affect us. The only reason I put it up there for schools, if you have an IT person, IT people are covered by the professional, but there's an exception to them. IT people specifically have to earn just below $38 an hour in order to be classified as exempt. If they don't make 38 or just below $38 an hour, then they'll have to be non-exempt. So and there's some other things as well with IT people. It has to be more than just punching data and so forth. It has to be systems analysis and that type of thing. So let's talk about independent contractor, Robin. Yes, if you currently are using independent contractors, you may continue to do so as you are now. However, many of us have used this as a loophole to classify people that way rather than having them as an employee to get around paying them less and so forth and so forth. The IRS has 20 tests to determine whether someone is an independent contractor or not. And you have to apply those to figure out whether they are or not. But just plain common sense. Let me give you some of these things. Are they registered as their own business? Do they have multiple clients? If you're their only client, chances are they're not an independent contractor. Where's their primary base of operation? Do they only work at your place? Then they're an employee. Do you have insight into who they hire or fire? Can you discipline their staff and their helpers? If you can do those things, then they're an employer. If you can't, then they might be an independent contractor. Who does their taxes? Do they have their own business card that's not related to yours? Is their primary function different from yours? You run a preschool, but theirs might be cleaning. But if they run a preschool also, or if that's their expertise and they do that for you, probably an employee. So there's all sorts of things there. Chances are, most people, unless they're a legitimate company with a different premises, with multiple clients, chances are they're an employee and should be treated as such. Did you have further questions with regards to that, Rob? No? Okay, yes, sir.
Is it our burden to find all that out?
Yes. And we'll be happy to help you. At any time, just give us a call. I'll be happy to email you the 20 standards. They're easy. Or just call me and we'll run some questions through. But yeah, it's up to the entity who's hiring to create the job description. The conference don't know what you want them to do. It's up to you then, based upon that job description, which we're not going to know, as to whether they're exempt or non-exempt, and of course the level of pay. Once you have determined that, you can now advertise the position. Please make sure you have an application form. You can download one from our website. And it's important that you have a decent application form because there's some legal verbiage on there. For example, before they sign, it says very clearly there, if there's any misinformation or false information in there and gets revealed later on, they can be terminated for that. For example, somebody applies and says, well, I've got 5 degrees, and later on comes out that they don't. They can be terminated. But we have to tell them those things. Otherwise, they can dispute it or say, well, it was just an error, isn't it?
Did you say that on the website you have some examples
Correct.
of job descriptions, like for the custodian?
We don't have the job descriptions online. However, just email me. My email address will be at the end. Email me. I'll be happy to email you a couple of documents with what a job description should, what legal verbiage it should have, everything, as well as the whole evaluation process, everything. I can email that to you, yes, ma'am.
And I think the application form is included in the handout as well.
Okay, and it is on the website as well. Okay, now you have 50 people apply for the job. Now it's time to not only look at the resumes, but please reference. You cannot do too much referencing. Call every single person they give on their list for references. If they don't give references, ask them for references. Go on Facebook. See if you have any mutual friends and call those friends. Make sure you do a ton of research. It is easier not to hire somebody than what it is to get rid of them once you have them. Termination is a treacherous road full of landmines and lawsuits. So we have to make sure that we rather get the right person to begin with than to just hire the first guy that comes along and then we've got problems. So please do a lot of referencing. In fact, did you know that in our insurance policy every year, one question they ask us is, do you reference well before you appoint people? Because if we don't, our insurance premium goes up because it's risky business. And we need to be able to say with a clean conscience that yes, we do, but we can't say that after July if you guys are not, because you guys are our agents. So please make sure you reference very, very well. This is also the time before you have the interview, if you're going to need them to be tested for anything, that you do that. For example, if you want to hire a secretary, this might be the time to send the secretary candidates, the top 3 or whatever, to some website to have their typing skills tested, or the data entry skills tested. If they have some type of disability, you notice in an interview, this is the time where you can ask them to demonstrate to you how they can do the job with a disability. We may not discriminate against them. If they have a disability, we have to actually accommodate them reasonably, as long as they can do the job. We may even have to buy a different piece of equipment or modify something. We have to accommodate to enable them to do it. But if it's possible and reasonable, we ought to do it. But you have to, or it's best to ask them to demonstrate how it's done. Otherwise, we end up in trouble.
This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. We'll close our eyes, but the person who has a silver gray Mercedes license 3RTC762, the lights are on. So we just want to alert you to that.
Your battery
Okay.
will run out.
We won't distract us. Go ahead. Thank you.
Then you have the interview process. At this point, you call your top candidates, your top 3 or 4 candidates, whomever you want, and you have an interview, face-to-face interview with them. Let me just say, it is important to be well prepared for that. Research the person, know what good questions to answer. If you need examples, once again, email me. I'll send you an example of a list of good interview questions to ask. But I also want to say that no matter how good you are at interviewing, listen to your gut feeling. There's been a ton of research that indicates your gut feeling about a person is sometimes more accurate than the way they answer questions. You just don't have a good feeling, listen to that. It's also important then, therefore, to have multiple people interview, have a little committee interview.